Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whale Project Showcase, highlighting MAUER NFT, the ambitious Web3-empowered charitable project whose roster of award-winning creators leverage the tech of NFTs to explore history, aid humanity, and build transformative community across the Omniverse. Team, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with the Whale members today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really excited to talk. Before we jump in, could you guys go around the room and just give some brief introductions on yourselves?
Yeah, I can start. I'm Patrick, co-founder of Iconia, who built the product MAUER. And yeah, I'm here together with my other co-founder, Eric.
Hello. My name is Eric, and I handle more the creative side on MAUER and our other projects. And yeah, will have the pleasure of working with the lovely Marjan, who can now take over.
Hi, I'm Marjan Moghadam. I'm a digital artist and an animator. I work primarily with 3D CG. I'm known for my pioneering digital artwork, my art hacks on the internet, which is a conceptual net art project, my gallery and museum exhibition work, and of course, the NFTs that I've been creating and selling in the last 2 years.
Thank you for that, guys. Before we dig in, you actually have a great synopsis video on what MAUER is. I thought I would run that for the group and just let them have a watch and listen to get a little grounding in it.
This is MAUER, an NFT project with a mission to bring down walls in the real world by building walls in the metaverse. 5 artists are creating 10,316 unique art pieces as building blocks for a digital memorial of the Berlin Wall. 1 piece for each day the wall stood. As of May 2022, 3 amazingly different artists, Alex Andreev, Daniela Gasparini, and Felipe Posada, have created more than 6,000 pieces that have sold for over $1 million. 51% of all proceeds from MAUER go directly to charities that work for freedom and democracy. And to date, over $500,000 have supported great causes. Through social media and monthly video meetings, we keep our members up to date and give them a chance to brainstorm ideas with us. Members also get to see the real impact done by our charity efforts, as we work closely with smaller charity organizations that report from the front lines. Currently, we're helping refugees and delivering necessities to Ukraine.
So far, the donations from MAUER has contributed 275 tons of aid in form from everything like medicine, water, food, and also cars. And in just 2 weeks' time, we were able to evacuate over 400 people.
Together with Sandbox, the biggest metaverse gaming platform out there, we're developing a game that will explore true stories about the Cold War era. We're also building virtual apartments that will function as your digital home and gallery. And with our exhibition during the Berlin Art Week, we will traverse the boundaries between physical and virtual. We wanted MAUER to be accessible to all, which is why we created a simple way to buy NFTs with a regular credit card.
One thing we do different compared to most other or almost all other NFT projects is that we will make it possible to buy these NFTs with a card payment.
Many of our holders bought their first NFT with us and are now active members of a thriving and positive community, a place where they take an active part in what we're developing, both for the physical world and the metaverse. To become a part of MAUER, you don't need to know anything about crypto, and buying a piece takes less than 30 seconds.
They're coming, there they come. Wow, let's go this one. Whoa.
Section 4 is coming soon. Join MAUER today.
Very cool, guys. So that was a lot to unpack there, Patrick and Eric. Can you give us your synopsis, if you could put it down into kind of a bite-sized form, for those that might be not familiar with MAUER? In brief, what is it and how did it come about?
Yeah, I can answer what it is, and then Eric can answer how it come about. It's about basically, the idea for MAUER was that we wanted to do an NFT product that was accessible for everyone and understandable for everyone and relatable for everyone as well. And we also wanted to do something with a good cause. So that is also why we decided to, we like generative art product, but we didn't think it was that many generative art projects with like traditional art. So we came up with that idea to use traditional art, and then we talked about different areas, and then Eric told me about his relationship to the Berlin Wall, and we were like, okay, wow, this is really cool. So yeah, maybe you, Eric, can tell everyone about your relationship with the Berlin Wall and how this came about. You're muted, Eric.
Sorry. Yeah. Not to overstate it, but so I have some relationship. I was very young, obviously, as everyone can see. I'm a very young man. So I was just a kid, But my family lived in Germany for a while during that period, and while my father became a doctor, and so we traveled there. And I was there when I was very young. It's one of my earliest memories, actually, that I can still remember is doing the border crossing, and how, because it's essentially like a trauma, it was really scary with these guards and dogs barking, and they searched like the cars to a ridiculous detail level because they were looking for, obviously we could have escapees hidden with the spare tires or something like that. So yeah, so this kind of vivid memory stayed with me, but of course I never really fully understood what it was kind of all about, and then I actually just concurring with when we got into NFTs, I talked to these old family friends and discovered just how much story there is there, and these amazing stories about this particular family friend, Jane, who's also we interviewed her for the project, and she's been helping us basically with the research and everything, which is really good because she was actually a technical advisor on Bridge of Spies, the Spielberg movie, as well. So she's an American woman who had an American passport, which allowed her to travel between East and West, which wasn't possible for Germans. So she could bring across this information, helping families communicate with lost members. She could bring across information about where tunnels were being dug and like where people were trying to escape. So she could bring across information, say like, yeah, in that building on that day, there's going to be a tunnel opening. And obviously this didn't make her popular with the East German government. So they tried to trick her into doing illegal stuff, and so they could capture her and, well, mostly throw her out, I guess. But and I was just thought this was amazing with these people who you've met and you know them, but you never realize they have these amazing backstories. That basically they're like heroes. She and her husband, Michael, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, were heroes, really. And so I thought that was, and then I realized also that this, the wall came down in '89. So we have a generation now coming up, or almost, I don't know, soon 2 generations, who haven't experienced this period in time, even though it's so close, and they don't really fully understand it. And still, when we start talking about it, me and Patrick and the creative team, feels still very, very relevant, right? Because we're still talking about walls and borders and division between ideologies. Remember just how amazing these 2 very, very polarized worlds, East Berlin and West Berlin, but being so close to each other, but still so divided. So it was just a super interesting subject, and that's why we got started on it, and we figured this could resonate still today and be a very interesting topic for wonderful artists like Marjan to basically interpret them in their own way. So yeah, sorry to but that's the backstory.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing some context there. Looking through it, there's so much intricacy and detail to the individual pieces, and obviously you had very specific intent when you went out and selected the artists that you did to create these. Talk to me about the roster of artists that you put together from an artistic standpoint and what you were trying to accomplish in creating these NFTs.
Yeah, so what we knew we wanted was kind of diversity, but not only, obviously in kind of different backgrounds and everything like that, but also in the style of art and the approach to the subject. So we've tried to put very little limitations, as few as we can, while still trying to make it feel like a cohesive collection, basically. And so, yeah, we got a great start with Alex Andreev for our first series. who's a Russian artist who grew up, started painting actually in 1989. So it couldn't be more fitting, and grew up behind the Iron Curtain. So he was very aware of what it was, and his take was, I'd say, quite kind of naturalistic, if you could say that, and quite he was quite focused on capturing a more of a true history of it. So that's an example of his style and his pieces. And then that was a super interesting perspective. Then we had Daniele Gasparini, Italian artist, who had more kind of he has a very dystopian, more futuristic style, and obviously more representative of Western Europe in his background. So he did stuff with these plastic soldiers and stuff like that, more kind of playing with the with symbolism and. And then we had Felipe from Colombia, Felipe Posada, who really did an amazing kind of more working with the abstract and the absurd in his style, incorporating these. He had this roster of characters that he built with the little girl and the diver, and each kind of symbolizing different aspects of it. And he had these kind of characters that were acting as kind of a proxy for the viewer in some cases as well, and symbolizing these different backgrounds of people and how we're he really felt strongly that it was symbolizing how we're really one people, obviously, and finding like common humanity. And that's and so we had three amazing artists, and the challenge was, how do we what are we going to do to bring something new to this, to basically raise it another level and really and then we found Marjan, who just felt perfect with a completely different style and really cool with her long background in 3D as well. Basically been working with digital art as long as I've been alive, which is amazing. And I'm really early into these technologies with NFTs as well. Marjan has been in NFTs longer than me and Patrick, which we find really cool. So that's what we've been thinking. And Marjan is gonna help us realize another kind of dream we had, which was to bring animation and sound and music as well into the collection, which will be really exciting.
Very cool. I love that there was such thought put into, the recruitment of the roster and the rationale as to why they would participate in it, as well as the unique diversity they would bring from an art perspective to the project. A lot of care taken all the way around in the details here. Marjan, would love to talk to you a little bit about, why this was a good fit for what you do. I was, looking at more into your background. Obviously, I've seen your work having minted since mid 2020, right? And obviously doing lots of work prior to that. But very a lot of discussion about the ethos of the space and what technology can provide, what it can do. Why did this marry up with what you try to do as a mission with your art? Marjan, you're muted right now.
Sorry. It's actually really interesting because, for many years I was known as one of the very few digital artists who would tackle political things in my fine arts practice. So I sort of also had this critical discourse that dealt with socio-political issues in our world. And a lot of that was informed by the fact that, I am a political refugee and an immigrant from Iran. So I feel as if my own personal life and subsequently my art practice has been heavily impacted and influenced by this whole idea of, political intrusions into personal space and into personal lives. And so this project appealed to me. And also I lived through the era. I actually remember when the Berlin Wall came down, and it just seemed like, wow, everything was possible for the world. It was the 90s were amazing. And I think because of the breakdown of the Soviet Union, the end of the Cold War, the changes in the various different Eastern European countries, and of course East Germany, all of those things, suddenly seem like growing up with this sort of dystopianism of the World War, the Cold War. And then there was this explosion of, wow, hope and possibility and freedom. So I kind of went through that era, and I feel like we're kind of going through another really weird era. It's hard to kind of quantify it, but obviously this project has a lot of political resonance for me. And I believe in democracy and freedom as causes. I viewed the Berlin Wall symbolically as a historic event, as a really interesting premise to work with as an artist, because we are dealing with, separation of families based on, revolutions or authoritarian regimes in various different countries throughout the world. And no, I think that the splitting of Germany really is a symbol of how you break apart families, more so than in many other similar situations. So I think in that regards, I find it to be a really powerful and significant moment in terms of modern history, and one that is a really good lens to really look at the human cost of authoritarianism and the human cost of what happens when governments overreach and imprison their populations in ways that are catastrophic. But, as I was doing the research for this project, something else that you can see in the artworks that are already on OpenSea that you showed earlier that I really found fascinating were also the stories of escape, which is really the triumph of the human spirit. And I love that aspect of the Berlin Wall. I love these stories of people with shovels in the sewage, whatever the zip lines, like whatever they could find, they found ways of transcending this situation. So I don't mean to minimize, of course, the tragedy of the Berlin Wall and its very tragic consequences for all the people and families who suffered. But I also see in this example, a really great testament to the triumph of human spirit in the face of great adversity. And of course, with what's happening in Ukraine right now, a lot of this stuff is like, really resonant.
Yeah, and I think there's a synergy there with the empowerment and the circumvention that Web3 and NFTs provide for creatives, for people and communities, for accessibility that was beyond people's means. Obviously, there's still issues to work out, but the technology and what it allows thematically almost lines up with what we're talking about. So almost in a very holistic way, in addition to what you try to do with your art, it seems to hit a lot of different angles. So I find that fascinating. When you started minting.
Sorry, and I just want to fill.
Sure.
I think you're exactly right, and I just want to fill in that this is why we see the Berlin Wall as kind of both a story of obviously of oppression and a lot of sad stories, but also of there's something really hopeful there. Like Marshall says, the day it came down was an amazing day, and what we discovered, from people, we even have people in our community currently who experience this, and they also kind of gave witness to the fact that no one knew it was coming. It was like even just months before it actually happened, the wall came down. No one could think it would be destroyed. So it happened very, very quickly. Once it reached that point where people were kind of fed up and times were changing and the circumstances were right, then it happened extremely quickly. So and like Martin says as well, just the creativity of ways that people found, as scarily easy it was to put the wall up, and how quickly they did it, and in a way how effectively they did it, as hopeful is the stories, are all the stories of the creative ways people found around it, and how it kind of proves the impossibility of keeping people in the long term, in check like that, I think.
Yeah, Marjan, when you started minting, obviously you had been pushing the boundaries of tech before, right? A credentialed, award-winning, tenured professor, all of these amazing things that you do and you've done for a long time. But when you started minting NFTs, did you envision the possibilities and the reach of NFTs that they have today?
No, I mean, I kind of hoped that would be the case, but I wasn't sure if it would be, but it really is astonishing. I mean, as someone who's been working with digital art for a very long time, I can tell you that, you know, it's for decades now, digital art has always been sort of like underrepresented in contemporary art and has seldom ever received the same legitimacy as photography or even performance art or video art. So the digital art has sort of been like this we don't know what to do with it problem of contemporary art. But if you look at our world, the absolute most significant cultural innovation of our time has to do with the nature of digital art and the visual ecosystem of the virtual and the net, and increasingly the metaverse that we now cohabit. So how can this not be the most important medium of art in our time? So it really took, I think, NFTs to put that on the map, to create this sort of artistic revolution that we're now experiencing.
Yeah, I'd love to circle back to that because we have to get to the metaverse integration with this project, but certainly you'd have unique perspective there. Patrick, before I go down the rabbit hole into the mechanism itself and what you guys do for drops, can you talk to me a little bit about your charity endeavors, how it's progressed over time, you know, what you had set out to do? I have some slides that you shared with me as well, if you'd like to walk through some of those.
Yeah, so basically, the model behind this NFT project is 51% goes to charity, and 25% to the artist, and we take 24%. So, and that's the whole. Then the idea with charity is basically create like auction, like charity auctions, and charity and art have always been very common, and we wanted to create a new way of doing this, and so we decided to then give 51% to the charity, and then also for the secondary market, we wanted to do the same, but it was impossible because on OpenSea you can only give 10%, take the 10% royalty. So we take 10% royalty, and then 5.1% go to charity. So it's quite unique in that way that both the primary and secondary market goes to charity, and a majority of all the sales goes to charity. And in the beginning, we worked with, we let the users decide which organizations they wanted to give the money to. It could be Doctors Without Borders and other charities. But we felt like when we did that and we sent the money, it was like, you know, you couldn't really see where they went, you know. And then we thought like, okay, this is like, you know, NFTs, blockchain, and it's kind of like the problem with the whole fiat world, that everything is, you know, hidden. So then we find this amazing organization called Blind Spots, which is a volunteer-based charity organization based in Leipzig in Germany. And yeah, we told them like, okay, could we do something together with you? And they were like, yeah, and let's do something together. And then during that process, when we spoke to them, that the war started, or the invasion started of Ukraine. And then we were like, okay, could we do something here? They're like, yeah, we can go directly to Ukraine. And we were like, okay, what do you need? We need a truck. Okay. So we sent them money so they could buy a truck. So they literally bought this truck, bought all the necessities. They delivered to UNICEF 75 tons of necessities now. And they also bought buses. So they bought these exit buses, and yes, drove right into Ukraine and started evacuating people and delivering necessities directly to Ukraine. And this is, you know, we have heard many reports that many of the help can't reach Ukraine because of bureaucracy. And this is really what we have erased with this like direct charity giving. Like you buy a MAUER piece, and then we send the money directly to Blind Spot, and they literally jump into the car and drive to Ukraine. It's like there's no bureaucracy there. There's no middle hands, and I think and this is for me what NFTs and smart contracts is about, is removing the middle hands. And we have so many middle hands in this world, and here what we're doing with charity work is really the same thing. We remove the middle hands and we just do direct giving, direct charity. We have literally evacuated more than 3,500 people since we started the project from the war zone. And if you buy one MAUER piece at $100, basically for every MAUER piece we evacuate 5 people. So, and I think that is very unique, very strong, and very, very urgent, and very important as well. And this is also what I was lacking with many NFTs project. It was like, you know, a lot of these like pump and dump projects, and rich people getting richer and so on. And with this product, we did something else, something that I think is much more important. And in the long term, I think that will make people, that will make this project more unique than anything else, because there is no one doing what we are doing, not even close to what we are doing. And this project is even loved by the anti-NFTers, that the people that really dislike NFTs. When I tell them about this project, you don't like NFTs, you think our project, they're like getting 3,500 people, you think that's bad? They're like, oh no, that's actually good, that's good. So I think we really attract like everyone with this project, and we also take a very unique position in the world of NFTs, where, to be honest, many of the projects look more or less the same, like different kind of apes and cats and stuff like that. And I'm kind of tired of that and want more original projects. And I think our NFT project is one of the most original, or the most original project I've seen. And I think art is also a lot of that, about that being original. And that's where we have found a really, really good space, I think.
I mean, that's incredible. A lot of projects talk about making an impact, but to literally see the fleet of vans and buses, and you can quantify the number of people that you've moved out. I mean, that's not something that you see frequently, let alone in the NFT space. A couple of questions for you. I'd seen this, and this is quite old now. How much money have you guys raised in total? You've had 3 of your 5 section releases, all of which had sold out. So where are you at now for your charitable contributions?
So we have raised more than $500,000 so far to charities.
Awesome. And did you anticipate the success that you've had? I mean, selling out at that kind of speed and frequency seems like, a lot of support. There's even a question right now from one of the viewers in the community, wondering if you guys had to overcome issues of, people not taking your charitable organization seriously, because, adoption of NFTs still have a long way to go, right? And even DeFi charities aren't showing up yet. So, did you expect this success? Did it surprise you?
No, so, a little bit, yes, but also what we did that was, mentioned in the movie as well, was that we let people buy with credit cards. So you didn't need to have a crypto wallet or crypto or anything. So when you're on minting, anyone with a credit card could buy, basically. So when we made after our 3 drops we have done now, we asked our community, how many of you bought your first NFT with us, and 60% bought their first NFT with us. So we are really bringing in, and I think if you look at any other NFT product, I think that number is like 1% or 0.1% or something like that. So we are really bringing new people into the NFT space, and I think that's one of the reasons why we managed to sell out. I think where we got the least traction is in the in the crypto space, like the NFT whales and veterans and so on, because we attract like a new target group. And that's also why we are here, why we're speaking to you now, because we want people inside the NFT crypto sphere as well to know about the product. But it went better than we thought, but the community has been great. And then regarding skepticism, regarding the charity, I think when we can show, here's a truck with this, here's a MAUER truck with all this aid, it's like it's hard to be skeptic. I think it's easier to be skeptic when you send money to like Red Cross or anything like that, because then you don't really you don't get photos back from the money you sent, where they actually go, and from the bus tour inside Ukraine. So I think Blind Spots, our charity organization, have really helped there, and we have huddle, like MAUER huddle every month, where the people from Blind Spots also participate and talk about their journeys and so on. We have one tomorrow as well, which we can share the registration link to, where they will talk a little bit more about their latest trips to Ukraine and what they have created.
Wow. So how have you guys, talk me through the progression of scaling up? You start with 1 bus or 2, and now you're at 11. Do you get into these huddles with the charitable organization and they tell you, hey, this is what we need, and that's kind of what you work towards? How does that work?
So basically, all the charity money from this drop we're doing now, therefore, will go to blind spots. So we send them all the money from the drop, depending on how much it will be, if it's like 200,000 euro or something like that, and then they spend it the way they think it's the best way to spend it, and then they report back to us how they spend it. We spent this much on buying a truck, and so on, and like they work voluntarily as well, so they don't even take salaries, these people. So it's like, I think it's like 97% of all the money we send go like directly back to the people in need, which is extremely high in the charity space.
It definitely is. You talk about wanting to bridge to the crypto native people. Can we talk a little bit about the NFT structure itself and kind of the mechanisms for people to get involved, and the quantity, the rarity, and things of that nature?
Yeah, so maybe you Eric, we can take like a piece, and you can talk a little bit about that, or yes, on the rarity and the quantity.
Yeah. So our end goal is to make a collection of 10,316 pieces, because that was the number of days that the wall stood, and so we divided that into 5 artists doing 2,063 pieces each, and so Marjan is now number 4, so we have 1 more to go after that, and that will total 10,315, and then we have a final piece. One single piece left that we will do something really exciting with, we're hoping, but we want to involve the community in that process as well, essentially help the community together, coming up with a way of creating the final crowning piece, so to speak.
Which will be the breaking the wall.
Yeah, that will symbolize the final day, and that was obviously the day when it came down.
Okay, so
the reason it's
go ahead.
Sorry, the reason it's 10,316 is because that was the amount of days the wall stood as well. And then in terms of rarity and pieces and the story behind every piece, it's like, Eric teach me new things every day, basically. But if like everything has,
I mean,
like a purpose there. Like if you see that track there, like if you go back and that track, there was someone actually doing that escape, driving with a truck through the Berlin Wall, and the same with the train, and everything has, even the type of dogs used in Alexander pieces is the dogs that were guarding the wall, and there's also stories behind them. So it's like we will work more on that as well, explaining the rarity, because Eric has done an amazing job there together with the artists to make them mean stuff, basically, which I think is very impressive every time I hear it.
So let me, if I'm encapsulating this right, there's roughly 2,000 pieces per section, or there has been previously. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going to be in section 4. They're blind mints, and then there's a reveal, or do they all reveal and you can choose which one?
No, so it's 2,063 pieces every drop, and then you buy a box, basically. So you buy a wooden box,
like this?
Yeah, exactly, like that one, with the name of the artist, and also with the Ukrainian flag as well, if since it's going to Ukraine in this case. And then approximately 1 month after, they open, and you will see what piece you get. So it's like I think that is what you call a blind mint.
Right. Which is great, right? Because a lot of people that are crypto native right now, that's part of why they're excited. A lot of people have fun with gacha or whatever, and also for a good cause makes them feel good about it as well. But some people just like collecting. To be quite honest with you, we have a show here called Collector Culture, where it's people come up and ask questions about resale or the market, and we don't really know, because we jumped in because we thought it was cool, or we appreciated the artist or whatever. So blind mint, about 2,000 and change pieces. A month later, it's revealed. There's rarity mechanics in this as well. And then it looks like there's some, for the mint, there's rewards for people that are holding existing NFTs as well. So there seems to be a lot to it with you guys' ecosystem.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, the way it works is that we wanna benefit loyal holders. So we created this product we call the shortlist. So it's basically if you're holding pieces from previous drops, you will get points, and the more points you get, the higher discount you get. So the starting price is $299 for joining the shortlist, and then if you do more tasks, you can basically get down to $99 if you hold pieces from each section, and if you have hold it for a certain amount of days. Also, if you have been to our huddles, you also get extra points, and so on. So it's the idea is to provide provide benefits to loyal holders, but also to incentivize people to buy on secondary market. So basically, if you want to get a great price, the easiest way is to snap up some cheap pieces on the secondary market, and then you get a greater price, basically. So it's, but also participating in huddles, following us on Instagram, and also sharing their project. So now we have you see that your rank is 1,149. I think we have like 1,200 people who have signed up for the waitlist, and then if you invite people, you get more points. So you can also get a discount by inviting people. So that's the whole idea, basically.
What's intriguing to me about this is, sometimes there's kind of I don't want to say pushback, but some people look at it a little bit differently, having to do tasks in order to, ascend on a list and be able to participate in a drop. For this, you don't just reward them by being able to participate, but it looks like they get a different rate, and you want everyone to achieve that rate. It looks like, from the way that you mention it. Likewise, there's other mechanisms for airdrops and rewards or whatever. But the thing that really stands out to me is this is not just sharing socially for the purpose of you growing the platform. You're talking about people being rewarded for attending the huddles, for people sharing the organizations, et cetera. So this is perpetuating the mission, and sharing about the charitable endeavors, right, and kind of spreading that mission and helping it grow. So it really does kind of go hand in hand with what you guys are trying to build, and I appreciate that fact.
Very happy to hear that. Yeah, and that is also like what I think we can be even better at communicating, because it's quite awesome to buy a NFT piece and then help 5 people escape a war zone. I don't think any other product can do that. So I think we can become even better at communicating what we're doing there.
Yeah, and you talk about accessibility in that intro video that we watched. You talked about people being allowed to use credit cards. It looks like there's some stuff there with the point systems, right? So if people want to hit a certain range, they can be active and be able to do it that way. How else do you guys work towards accessibility? And I'm already getting this question a few times in the community. Can people use crypto as well as cash and cards?
Yeah. So they can use Matic as well. So they are based on Polygon.
Okay.
These pieces, and the reason why it's Polygon is just because since it's mainly a charity project, it doesn't make sense to pay so much gas fees. We better spend the gas fees on helping people. And and then what was the other question regarding from the community?
Well, you talked about accessibility, right? Obviously,
accessibility. Yeah, so we did the credit card, and we thought like, okay, that's cool. Now everyone can buy. But then we only had like MetaMask and Wendley as wallet options. And what happened was like 99% of our support tickets was to explain MetaMask and Wendley. And I thought like, okay, this is a very, very bad business idea, being support team to these complicated wallets. So then we decided to build our own wallet as well. So now we created our own wallet as well that we call Smart Wallet, just to make it accessible for new people. An easy wallet where they can see their NFTs and even things like download their NFTs. If you are a experienced MetaMask user, you don't need that. But if you're completely new into NFTs, this is like lifesaver. Just being able to find, where you see your NFT in MetaMask is actually quite hard. That's the most common question we got actually from in terms of support. How can I see my NFT? And the second most common question is, how do I download my NFT? And then we're like, okay, for a NFT expert, this might sound like a crazy question, because you just go to IPFS and download it. But I can't say that to my father. He would be like, "What are you talking about?" So yeah, so the wallet, what I think will do a great difference in making it accessible. And then inside our wallet, you can also link your MetaMask, so you can view your MetaMask inventory inside our smart wallet as well. So yeah, that's the idea.
That's great that you put that infrastructure in place. So Section 4 releases tomorrow, the pre-sale, is that right?
Yeah, so we will release it after our huddle. So we will have a huddle, which in the Whale community is welcome to join, 4 p.m. CET tomorrow. And yeah, after that huddle, we will cut the ribbon and start selling Section 4. And yeah, we will also give some gifts to the people in the huddle. So that's what we always do when we have this huddle. So that we give some random gifts to people. So if you want that, join the huddle, and then you will be the first to know when we open the sale of the Section 4.
So just because it's not easy for me to discern from the site, this is the pre-sale, so it'll be people that have earned early access or something like that. So if people watching want to get involved, they have to sign up via your website and then be ready when the public sale hits, unless they earn their way into some of the different tiers, it looks like.
Yeah, so they can sign up to the website, and as long as they've signed up before tomorrow 9 a.m. they will have a possibility to buy. And then how many points they have is depending on the price they get. And we will also give share special access to the Whale community as well, since we really appreciate your support. So you will get a special link as well to get your members will get us a special link to get access to the sale as well. And then it will be open for 24 hours. And then we will open again when we have some art, some more teasers for the art to reveal. We will open up again.
Okay, well, I couldn't find a teaser. Wherever it is, you guys keep it under wraps for right now. But I'd love to play this teaser from Marjan that we have here. This very cool video to walk people through what they can expect from this creative who's leading Section 4.
Award-winning and internationally renowned Marjan Moghadam is one of the most influential female artists in the world and one of the top-selling NFT artists on Super Rare. Marjan came to the United States as a political refugee during the Islamic Revolution in Iran. She will bring a unique perspective on division and its impact to the fourth section of MAUER.
I think that for me, it's always about how can the digital do all the things that previous media and or mediums could not.
Marjan also has a long and remarkable history in digital art, having started her journey back in the 1980s and being an early adopter of many of the technologies, including NFTs. Through the lens of 3D CG, her art explores artistic, political, cultural, and philosophical disruptions ushered by technology and the Anthropocene.
We are proud to see Marjan join MAUER and really excited to see her invitation to Section 4. Sign up to the shortlist to secure your spot in the pre-sale.
That's got me pretty hyped. Marjan, question for you, given, your leanings and what you like to accomplish with your art, why you felt like this project resonated with you. I don't have a visual preview. Can you give us a little alpha, a little inclination as to what we can expect with your work?
Well, I think the other previous three artists did such a great job of covering so many different bases in terms of a lot of the historic aspects of the Berlin Wall, and working with the symbolism. And I'm I like to animate, and I have this sort of unique style of animation. So what I'm doing is actually animation. So there's going to be an animated layer in my NFTs. So that's a little bit different than just static JPEGs. But there's going to be different layers with traits and variations for the traits still. So you're going to see elements of generative projects. But what is exciting and new and different here is there's going to be an animated layer. I'm not sure if this is a first. Eric might know, but it might be, an innovation within the generative NFT space right there. And I think what I'm focusing on right now, is the idea of escape. And the reason that I like the escape thing is, well, I escaped. So it's like my personal experience. But I also like the idea of escape because I think there are a lot of really scary and difficult and challenging things in our world right now that are making people feel very unsafe. And so for me, it is about the resilience of human spirit and our ability to transcend. And I think the escape aspect of the Berlin Wall and working with that in animation and in my glitchy style is it's really about how we glitch the system. And DeFi and NFTs are about glitching the system, and the escapes from the Berlin Wall were about glitching the system. And as far as we're concerned, the metaverse is a glitch to the system too. So there is this synergy between all these different ideas.
I love that the glitch being used in that aspect as a big glitch art fan. So I think I'm gonna steal that one liberally. So thank you for sharing. You mentioned the metaverse, Patrick, Eric. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing with this project relative to the metaverse?
Yes, one thing to add on Marjan as well that I think is pretty amazing with this drop is that Marjan is selling pieces for more pieces, many pieces for more than 10 ETH. So she's a very credible artist in the space, and now you get a chance to buy a piece from that kind of credible artist. And I think that is also something that is very beautiful with with NFTs to give access to this world-class artist for normal people, as I call them as well, making it more democratic, which I think NFTs is about as well. And I'm really grateful for Marian joining us for that cause. And on the metaverse, we are working very closely with Sandbox. So the way we see it basically is that we want to create an ecosystem. So if you own a MAUER piece, we will airdrop you or give you different kind of benefits along the way. And the earlier you are in, and the more you own, the more benefits you get basically. So, and we are inspired by what Artifact have been doing there as well. I think they've been pretty good at doing that. So what we're looking at now is basically our project we're doing on cyber. So we were inspired by the space pods that Artifact was doing with CloneX, and we wanted to do something similar but better, which is our motto in everything we do. So then we decided to create this East and West Berlin apartment on cyber. So if you are owner of a MAUER piece, you will get access to this apartment basically, and that is pretty trippy. So own an NFT piece, and then you get an apartment as a consequence of that. And we are working with a very cool architect called Dana Kosmina, which is a Ukrainian artist. She was actually designing the Ukrainian pavilion during the Art Biennale in Venice, which is the world's most famous, credible art festival or art conference in the world. And she is also designing our apartment on cyber, which is what we're looking at right now. And she's living in Berlin now as well because of the war. So that is kind of crazy as well. So she had to escape Ukraine because of the war, and now she is living in Berlin and designing this East and West Berlin apartments for us. So this is her work. And what we also want to create is like interoperability between on cyber apartments and what we're doing in Sandbox. So in Sandbox, we are building a game, the MAUER Escape, basically, which we are developing right now. And then the idea is that, you know, we want to create this feeling so you can go from your own cyber apartment into the Sandbox land. So the exterior in the Sandbox is the same as the exterior in the on cyber, basically. So you go through this door, and this experience in the Sandbox, we have already created some assets like the Beetle cars I think you saw before, and which we have airdropped to our holders. And here is, you know, the Brandenburger Tor, and yeah, it will be like the real like Berlin during the Berlin Wall. And just if you see the clothes here, like we are really trying to make it feel like you enter that world in a metaverse, but you're at the same time you're going back in history, which is kind of cool. And this is just a small game we created for the that there is sort of Beetle, but this is a game we created for the game jam that Sandbox hosted. And that you get a little bit like a feeling of what we wanna create. But we're gonna create this kind of escape game with different quests and different escapes and so on. And yeah, Eric can tell you a little bit more. He's the genius behind the partnership with Sandbox as well.
No, but yeah, it was kind of we did it as a kind of a trial, both for our own sakes, but also for Sandbox sake, that, you know, we're obviously tackling a sensitive subject still, you know, quite different from everything else that Sandbox is generally, you know, most of the stuff that's in Sandbox at least, you know, more like fantasy oriented and so on. So we wanted to make sure for our sake and for this as well, that we could find a way to do this in a way that felt good and felt right. So that game jam was all about kind of finding ways to tell these true stories about the Berlin Wall and escapes and everything like that. But basically making them playable, and that you could play as a character that helps, you know, the resistance and people to escape and so on. So we felt kind of like, you know, in a similar style to, you know, these are lofty goals, obviously, but, you know, like you know, great movies like Spielberg's movies, like Bridge of Spies, or, you know, that you can tell these stories and make it, you know, entertaining, but still, you know, be sensitive to actual events and so on. And that usually being entertaining is a really good way to educate people and to make people interested in a subject. It's that's always the problem with, you know, with kind of, you know, if you do it kind of the museum way or stuff like that, it becomes a little bit boring, and then you lose basically people's interest. So we think, you know, this is kind of we think we can build kind of a historical IP around this and still make a really engaging and interesting game experience.
Yeah, I was just actually going to weigh in on what Eric said. Yeah, because this is like, I think, a really important concept, because, you know, generative NFT projects have really not been as ambitious as they could have been in terms of exploring the possibilities. And, you know, there's this sort of line about all new media and technologies. They go through 3 stages. You know, in the first stage, it's basically, you know, it's kind of like an amusement, or, you know, something that's wondrous or new and different. In the second stage, it's magic. And in the third stage, it becomes art. And, you know, when you sort of look at other generative projects that have had utilities, like, okay, on such and such a date, you'll get a serum, you'll get this, you'll get that. I mean, these are still situated in the early stages. But I think, you know, looking at what MAUER is doing and expanding it into on cyber, Sandbox, creating games, creating all these different dimensions of all these different dimensions in terms of the IP that Eric was speaking of, you start to see the maturity and the maturing of the entire field and industry.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that, you know, gaming is as much on the forefront of you know, the media of our day, right, as you know, literature was in the past, or whatever. It's on the same tier. And I was intrigued to hear what you would have to say about that, Marjan, given, you know, your forays into the metaverse. What could you envision for a progression of social endeavors like this using Web3 with things like AR and VR? I'm just really intrigued to hear your perspective, given that you're so involved with it.
Yeah, I'm actually doing AR. I'm in the Seattle Public Art AR show in next week, and there's going to be a 30-foot inflatable glitch goddess sculpture outside the downtown Seattle Macy's building. So I feel like I've used AR for that purpose. And just this week, I showed my personal story called A Piece of the Sky, which is an AR story in 7 chapters. It was at XR for Change conference in New York City last week. And that AR story in 7 chapters is driven by BrainLink technology. So your heart rate and breathing and brain waves actually allow you to advance through the story. So I explore, that technology a lot. And I think there's just so much that can be done. I almost feel like every month there's new possibilities that I can look at and try to explore. So I think moving into the metaverse, the potential is great. And I think that, I do like to, I think that we are approaching an era in which games are going to mature too. And they're going to start, like you said, rivaling great works of literature or great works of cinema, etc. And I think we're ready for that. And I'd like to see these experiments with, various different tokenized IP projects really rise to that level and say, you know what, we're no different than the great works of literature or great works of cinema. And, while still delivering engaging and compelling experiences for users and, of course, collectors.
Right. I saw someone speak earlier on Twitter today, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it in front of me, but essentially saying, the paradigm of let me take my art and figure out how I can convey it in an NFT is backwards. It should be, how can I take NFTs and create art, right? There's a lot that can be done on a lot of different levels with it. And I appreciate you being at the forefront of pushing those boundaries and exploring that.
Yeah. And also on top of that, one thing we are thinking about, and we haven't formalized it right now, but is also making the whole game basically into a DAO, or maybe even the whole MAUER project into a DAO as well. Because we really like that idea, especially since we have this charity element. I think it would make a lot of sense. But that would be like if you would make the game into a DAO, it basically means you buy this art piece, this incredible art piece from Marianne or some of our other artists, and then you basically become a game developer as a consequence of it. And I think that's a very, very interesting and cool concept. So that we are really trying to push the boundaries in terms of what we can do there as well. We are speaking to Sandbox about creating avatars together with them. We are doing on Cyber. We are doing Sandbox. I think we do, in terms of metaverses, I think we do, more than many of the products that sells for, that have had a turnover of thousands of Ethereum, and we still only have like 100 ETH in turnover. So we're still a very, very small project compared to everyone else. And then we also, giving away 51% to charity. So this is all about, breaking the barriers of what's possible in doing and taking it to the next level. And that's really what we are about.
Yeah, cool comments in the stream text as we're watching this. Someone said that Marjan makes Terminator 2 look boring. So I would agree with you, Sid. I would agree with you. And yes, a homeowners association or a DAO for these apartments and everything that the charitable endeavor could do would be very, very cool. And you mentioned the volume, but I just wanted to say, when I looked at the secondary volume, you guys eclipsed 100 ETH. On the secondary market of a charitable endeavor. I think that's pretty good. Obviously, it talks to the excitement that people have about the project, even if they're not involved at the initial mint. And I can only imagine when someone as talented as Marjan jumps in as well, that will be amplified significantly. I know we're up against the hour, guys, and you probably have other commitments, but I have a few questions from the community. If you could just take a few more minutes with me and have me run them by you.
Yeah, no problem. I have the whole night here.
Sure. So someone asked, how about expansion plans? Are there other historical or societal landmarks or events targeted for future MAUER projects?
Yeah, so basically the vision is to create a digital monument or break digital walls that then take down walls in the real world. That's like really what we want to do. And then we thought the Berlin wall was a great start. But as you know, there's many other walls and historical monuments that is a sign of democracy or maybe against democracy. And yeah, we definitely want to do more stuff after MAUER because we have really appreciated this experience and we think it's important. And yeah, so that's the idea, to make more historical monuments in the future, and also always have this charity aspect and basically make it take the own the category of like historical monuments and the charity aspect in the metaverse, basically, which I don't think anyone is owning today, and it's a great cause as well.
Thank you. Someone said, in creating the game, was there concern that the scenarios could be traumatic versus therapeutic? How did you balance that?
Well, I'd say we balanced it by talking a bit to people like Jane and people who lived it, and trying to basically feel like if they felt it was respectful and so on, then and we talked to the Berlin Wall Foundation as well. So basically, we check ourselves in that way. But yeah, you can never know for sure. It's never like a guarantee. But we think it's like more important we think it's a bigger risk essentially that it's going to be forgotten than that it's going to be talked about too much, if you see what I mean. So yeah, it's sometimes a tough subject, and some of the stories are rough and might bring up some memories for people. But we think that's if we do it respectfully, we think it's a necessary kind of.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And I could certainly, once you talked about gaming being the delivery and why you went with that, made a lot of sense. A question from Majan: as a person passionate about using NFTs for progression, how can we change the narrative around scams and PFPs being the norm?
Well, that's actually a really good question. And I'm starting to think some of that is already happening organically. I mean, in the last year, we've seen like top PFP projects lose up to 90% evaluation. And the thing that you have to understand is that we sort of live in a world where the internet produces so much ephemera, and it's very easy to sort of look at this ephemera and go, this has a really high value, and then a year later it doesn't really have any value. And the world has moved on, and so I think that projects like this, I mean, people always ask me, what should I collect? And I said, well, my first advice is buy what you love and believe in, number one. And number two is make sure you buy something that you don't feel embarrassed about owning 5 years later. And so I think if you look at the sort of excesses of PFP projects, we'll call them, within the last year, you'll see lots of examples of work that, who's going to want to have this, in their collection in a few years. I mean, some of the stuff is already looking as if, you wouldn't necessarily want it in a collection that you have publicly, you're displaying publicly. But I think projects of this kind, I mean, realistically speaking, is anybody going to be embarrassed that they own a piece of this project 5 years from now? I seriously doubt it. That's how you have to really look at it. Is there substance? And is a substance that is ephemeral, that's going to pass and disappear overnight, like most other internet memes and trends and things of that sort? Or is this something that is making an important, timely statement that will stand the test of time? So the really interesting thing is that the market is sort of organically depreciating a lot of the less memorable generative and PFP projects. And the sort of economic issues in the world right now are going to probably further increase that depreciation. So this really creates opportunity for art projects that use the NFT ecosystem to shine and to create those works that can withstand the test of time.
And you raise an interesting point as well. They talk about us really forging our digital identity in Web3, right? And our address being tied to our persona and who we cultivate and curate as far as what the world's going to know about us. So, participating in projects, whether it's this or something alternatively, is something that is going to be there immutably on the blockchain, at least with regards to that address that you're trying to, carry forward. So an interesting way to think about this as well. So thank you for sharing that perspective.
Yeah, actually, I just 2 weeks ago, I was one of the handful of artists selected to test the Meta Facebook digital collectible post function. And if you go to my public page, you'll see the digital collectible wallet verified posts that I've done with this new technology. Right now, this is in beta, and just a few artists were picked to test it. Of course, down the line, it's going to become available for everybody else. But yeah, exactly. If you click on it, it'll go to the token page. And the interesting part of it is I actually, right after I posted this, I sold the piece and the token page updated that it's no longer in my wallet. So yeah, this is really new technology, but you have to sort of understand that this is where digital collectible revolution starts to bring in everybody. And so you have a social media account, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on whatever it is that you're on. And as part of your online wall or presence, you also have your digital collectible gallery. And this is the statement that you make to the world about who and what you are, the causes that you believe in, the art that exemplifies your cultural or philosophical or artistic interests, so on and so forth. So yeah, when you're talking about digital identity and the way we're moving forward, digital collectibles and NFTs are going to be a huge part of that. And so the same way people curate photographs or videos in their albums and walls, they're going to be curating their digital collectibles in terms of the statement it makes about them as people.
Yeah, thank you for that. And certainly this is a statement that people would be proud to have made, in my opinion. Patrick, Eric, Marjan, thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Again, if anyone wants to participate in the drop tomorrow, they should go to your base website, sign up, follow the steps via the email, and then look forward to the ribbon cutting and then the mint going live for a period tomorrow after the huddle.
Correct. That's completely correct. And thank you so much for your time, Nightmare, and the whole whale community as well. Really, really appreciate that you are looking into our project.
Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been MAUER. Best of luck in the drop. I don't think you guys need it. I think we'll be talking about another sellout, but we will all be eagerly watching and rooting for your continued success. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.